our world-class Australian campus, our passionate lecturers are able to educate trials riders from all over the world. Are you ready to learn? Welcome to the University of Trials. Over the past 2 classes, we've literally taken you all over the world, from E3 in Los Angeles all the way down to Melbourne for PAX Australia. But now, we're back in the classroom and we're ready to kick off one of the biggest lessons we've ever had. So get your pen and paper ready, because this is going to be a good one. The first technique I want to focus on is the high jump. This is where you have to get just that little bit extra height in trying to get over an obstacle. Let's have a look at this example on Way of the Ninja. As you can see, if I was to just launch off this ramp without doing any particular bunny hops or any special moves, I'm going to drive straight into the top of this obstacle here. So what this means is that I've got one of 2 options. I can either remove the top of the obstacle, or I can perform a high jump. The key thing to remember when performing a high jump is that it's very similar to the bunny hop technique that we've talked about. The key difference is to make sure that you lean forward, then backwards to maximize the height that you get off the jump. So now let's put this technique into practice on the truthers out there. Starting from a position where you're leaning forward, what you want to do is accelerate and push hard to the left. As soon as the front wheel starts getting some lift, now you want to press hard to the right to start taking yourself up and over the obstacle. What I suggest you do is ensure that your rear wheel makes contact with that wooden plate with the X on it. It will give you a little bit of extra boost, help you clear the jump, and get over the finish line. The next thing I want to discuss is the consecutive bunny hops. Now in this example, I'm just showing you that for some of the obstacles, it's possible for you to slow yourself down, compose yourself, and then tackle each individual obstacle one at a time. However, for some of the obstacles, that's just not possible. If you're trying to attempt this from a standing start, you're just not going to make it. So what we need to do is utilize consecutive bunny hops to ensure we can make it over all of the obstacles. The key, as we've discussed in previous lessons, is to ensure that your rear wheel gets the maximum amount of grip onto the platform and to ensure that it's in contact with the platform for the longest period possible to make sure that you get the most power to propel yourself forward. As this is all about understanding the physics of the bike, what we need to focus now is getting the maximum amount of weight over that rear wheel at the point it becomes in contact with the platform. As you can see in these examples here, just at the moment where you're about to touch the platform, flick hard to the left. What this will do is seat the rider down over the rear wheel, make sure that the rear wheel comes in contact with the platform first, and then at the time when you're about to launch off, propel yourself into another bunny hop by flicking hard to the right. Repeat this process a number of times and you'll get through these obstacles with no problems. In some of my previous classes, I've covered techniques such as the uphill bunny hop, the ramp hop, and a specific course on dealing with round objects. I have got some comments to ask about whether or not I could do a little bit of an explanation about when all of these things combine. So I've got 2 examples here. The first one I'm going to go through is on the rec. With this, you approach this in very much the same way as you would an uphill bunny hop, leaning back hard, ensuring your front wheel gets some lift before you lean forward, and then carrying your body weight up and over the obstacle. The key thing to remember on this particular obstacle is that you need to brake as your front wheel hits the top of the barrel. Use the highlighted safe zone in green here as a guide of where you want to place your wheel. Just as your body weight starts leaning forward, what you want to do is press hard to the left, get your rear wheel in contact with that safe zone, and then immediately push to the right to propel yourself using the bunny hop technique over the gap. Now let's focus on the second example from Inferno 3. With this one, I strongly suggest that you start from a seated position, start accelerating at 100%, and only when your front wheel starts lifting up off the ramp would I suggest that you lean forward to start propelling yourself over the barrels. The key difference between these 2 obstacles is with this one, you won't have to stop with your brake and land on your front wheel first. With this, if you get the angle right, you'll actually need to get your rear wheel to land on the safe zone of the obstacle and transition immediately into a bunny hop. I did say that this lesson was going to be jam-packed, so I don't want to stop here. I'm going to keep going with a couple of other bonus tips that I thought I'd include to wrap up this lesson. Let's firstly focus on this jump on out of the pit. This is the second in a series of jumps that are very similar, but this one has a very particular technique. The first thing that you want to do is accelerate at 100%, and as you get to the edge of the jump, simply push to the right. This will ensure that your body weight gives you that little bit of extra momentum and boost to get you to the first part of the obstacle. The second thing you want to do now is push hard to the left. This will ensure your rear wheel gets lifted up and is brought closer to the obstacle. From this first platform, now what you want to do is perform a bunny hop, and you need to perform this in one fluid motion, ensuring that you reposition your bike to get maximum grip for the next part of the obstacle. For regular students of the university, what I've shown up until this point will have been quite basic, but here's the tip that I want to share with you. As you get to this part of the obstacle, there's two ways you can approach this. If you attempt to do a bunny hop to get over this gap, you'll notice there's a large stone above your head, and you'll hit that every single time. To easily transition through this gap, what I suggest you do is lean forward as soon as your wheels make contact with the stone at the base here. What that will do, as long as you accelerate at 100% and keep pushing hard to the right, it'll ensure that you clear the gap easily while minimizing the height that you carry, and it will avoid hitting your head on the stone above. The next obstacle I want to discuss is this one on the wreck. I just want to discuss this briefly and give you a couple of quick pointers about how to approach this jump and how to get over this a lot more consistently. The first thing you want to do is start from a seated position as you're going across the top of this rail carriage. Next, you want to accelerate, but I'd only suggest accelerating at around 40 or 50%. What you want to aim to do is push gently to the left, rotating your bike ever so slightly, just so you can position your bike so your front wheel is up in the air and you only make contact with the rear wheel. As you make contact with the ramp, start accelerating, and what this will do is launch you up and into the air. As you make contact with the ramp, you should now be accelerating at 100%. What this will do is slingshot you up into the air, and it's at that point where you start pushing hard to the right in an effort to rotate the bike around and position yourself for the next part of the obstacle. Getting your rear wheel to come in contact with this pillar at the end here is a little tricky and will take a bit of practice, but now you understand the basics of this technique, finishing this part isn't going to be difficult. Well, I did say in the introduction that we would be covering quite a lot this class, and I think we've achieved that. However, we have run out of time. Be sure to bookmark the 16th of October, because that's when we plan on releasing the 8th and final class of this semester of the University of Trials. In it, we're going to be covering all of the hardest obstacles that you've been asking for. So leave your requests in the comments below, and I'll be sure to cover as many of them as I can in the final class.